the answers weren't fully there because we all know either personally or through friends that it's just not that simple.
Nick, how did you find Carnivore?
I heard about it first, probably, I'm not sure what year it was, maybe 2018 or so, when Michaela Peterson, that was the first person I heard who ever did Carnivore. And I was not a big follower of her, but I knew that it existed and that some other people had had some good results with it, especially with autoimmune issues. So it's kind of on my radar, but I never really did it. I was into keto at that point. I got into keto, I think around 2017 or so, with like Dr. Jason Fung. He was a big influence on me. I read the Obesity Code, and so I was doing a lot of keto, fasting, extended fasts, intermittent fasts, that kind of thing. And to me, carnivore seemed like unnecessarily strict because I didn't have any autoimmune issues and I had good results with keto. So I was just gonna stick with that. But this year I decided I was doing keto for a little while. Results were okay, but I'd been kind of curious about carnivore, and I found Ferrigno Freedom is the channel. I saw one of his videos one time. It was like a 3 year um, anthology of his carnivore experience, and I was engaged in it. And after maybe about a half hour of his video, seeing kind of his early journey, I skipped ahead a bit and almost didn't recognize him. He looked completely different. He'd shaved his head. He was tan. He was shirtless, and he'd lost like 100 pounds. And I just thought that's pretty incredible. It was quite the transformation, and that kind of got me interested into carnivore. I started listening to Dr. Chafee, Dr. Barry, Sean Baker, and that just they convinced me that this was superior to keto and a better way of eating. So I decided to give it a shot myself, and it's been, I think, coming up around 140 days or so, several months now.
So, in that 140 days, what has happened for you that maybe, or what has changed for you that maybe were lasting things you wanted to address, even being on keto?
Um, well, I've always had some headaches, and not migraines, but just kind of frequent headaches that were annoying. And I wasn't sure if carnivore was going to do anything for that, but it is essentially completely cured that. Still occasionally get a very mild headache, but it's only been a few in the last few months rather than like weekly. And I don't take any painkillers for that anymore. My energy levels have been way better. When I was doing keto, I was often trying to restrict what I ate a lot and do a lot of fasting. And so it was effective when it came to weight loss, but it was difficult to keep up. So, carnivore has been easier in that sense. I kind of eat as much as I want, but I usually only eat twice a day. And so, my goal is to lose weight and to have better energy, just perform better, be healthier. My blood pressure's come down. Um, I didn't have a whole lot of serious chronic issues before, besides just being overweight my whole life. But um, so that's been the main one. But I've had a lot of benefits just in terms of how good I feel. I feel like kind of every aspect of my life is better. I've got more energy and sleep better. So it's been a lot of improvements. Kind of some are small enough that I don't even notice until I have to think about it.
Nice. So, on the weight loss front, how much have you lost over the last 140 days, and what kind of goal do you have for that?
So with what I did about 50 days of keto, and I lost 20 pounds, and I sort of transitioned into carnivore. So the second half of that, I lost a lot of weight, sort of transitioning into carnivore. And then since then, I think it's been another little over 10 pounds. It really has not been super dramatic, um, but I've gotten a lot closer to where I want to be. I'd still probably like to lose another 20 or 30 pounds, but it's maybe not as much of a rush at this point. So it may take a little while. And I haven't been aggressive with it with carnivore in terms of doing a lot of fasting. Or I think if I cut way back and ate a whole lot less, did a lot more fasting, I could lose weight quicker. But I feel good and I'm comfortable, and I as long as the trend is downward, it doesn't need to be, in the next 2 months, could be 6 months or a year, and that's fine.
And the thing is, when you're feeling good, like you're not in as big a rush as you are when you're on a regular kind of diet, because it's all about, "I just got to get the weight off, just got to get the weight off." But when so many other things are improving, you're happy to kind of just let it, I'm happy with my life kind of feeling, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I agree. If I was miserable, the only thing I would care about is just losing weight so I can, stop this diet. But since I'm happy and it's like it's a lifestyle change, then if I decide at some point I want to get more aggressive with trying to lose weight faster, I know how to do that, and I've always had good results just doing more fasting. And um, it's pretty easy to fast when you're keto or carnivore, so it's comfortable enough. I know how to do that, but yeah, I feel good, so I want to keep that going.
How are you splitting those 2 meals a day up that you're having?
Um, they're, I would say, pretty even in terms of the amount of food. I'll usually have a couple eggs in the morning, and depending on what I've got, burger patties or sausages or maybe leftover steak or ground beef. Um, I don't really track any of it strictly, so I'm not sure in terms of quantity. I would say I probably average maybe a pound to a pound and a half of meat total a day, and I kind of split that up. Sometimes dinner is a little more than breakfast, but both of them I feel like are comfortable meals, and I don't have to worry about eating in between then.
One of the best things for me about carnivore was, or is, not having to track anything, like, so it doesn't matter if I'm having half a pound or a pound of beef or whatever, or, there's no macro counting and all this kind of thing. It's just, I feel like eating this much beef today or this many eggs today, and that's it. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think even when I was doing keto, I was always worried about like carb counts, and I wasn't necessarily tracking calories, but I was trying to keep track of carbs, net carbs, and there was more that went into that, and there was more like, well, can I get away with a little bit of this, or kind of sneak some carbs in there, but it's all within the balance. Or and I've done calorie tracking. I've done like if it fits your macros. I've done very strict calorie tracking, and trying to do calorie restriction, aim for a deficit, all that kind of stuff. And calorie tracking is a real pain. I think the longest I went was probably like about 3 weeks. But if you really want to be strict about it, you realize how difficult it is. And unless you're eating only things that come in single serving packages, and you can just add up the number on the back to do a lot of weighing, and scales and measures, and track it all. And it's like every meal becomes an accounting exercise, and I hate that. So it's just not sustainable long term. And so I don't think anybody really does it for very long, but it is kind of eye opening, I guess.
Yeah, I think you summed it up there perfectly. Everything becomes an accounting exercise, and when I think about it, there's a reason I didn't study accounting, and yeah, that's probably why I hate it. So how do your friends react to this?
I've been surprised that a lot of people have been supportive. I haven't really gotten a whole lot of pushback in person. Since I put out my video on YouTube. That's done pretty well, and so I've gotten a certain amount of negativity there, but overwhelmingly it's been positive, even on YouTube and in person. I, besides the odd joke here or there, people tease me about not eating vegetables, and I think that's something that maybe concerns people is they think you need vegetables, and how can I not have fruit and vegetables? And I don't think at this point, the people I know are okay with doing a low carb thing. And a lot of people know that I've done keto before, and so it's not as shocking. But then you say, well, I don't eat any plants and no vegetables, then some people think, well, what about the fiber? And are you going to get scurvy? Or are you going to get vitamin deficiencies? And I've studied up enough that I can answer those questions, and hopefully that puts their mind at ease. But there's no guarantee. I think the vegetable propaganda runs deep in this culture.
Definitely. How about your doctor? Have you been to see your doctor recently?
No. I haven't been to a doctor probably in like 5 or 6 years. I've been in good health, so, I don't know, I think the last time I went was sometime before COVID, and then all that happened, and, I just, did not really see a need to it. Been to the dentist, my teeth are fine, I know that. I have a blood pressure monitor at home, I can check that. Um, haven't had any need to go to the doctor. If I've gotten sick, it's just been little colds and stuff, and I get over it pretty quick. So I should get some more blood work done. I did in the past when I started doing keto. I had done some blood work before I did that, and then I lost a lot of weight. Did keto for a few months, and did blood work afterwards. And when I did that years ago, all my cholesterol was way down. Triglycerides were way down. Everything was looking really good. The doctor was happy with it. I don't think I told them that I was doing keto. I just said it was do some kind of low carb dieting and going to the gym. So, but we'll see. Next time I go to the doctor, we'll find out.
Has there been any point along the way where you've felt disengaged from the mainstream advice about dieting, and that's how it made it easier to move towards keto and then carnivore? Or is it just been a natural progression for you?
I mean, I think when I started learning about keto in general, and a lot of it resonated with me just because I tried plenty of diets, and I'd been, at that point going to a gym for about a year, and trying to lose weight, doing kind of bodybuilder style clean eating and calorie restriction and that kind of stuff. And I'd had okay results with it, but it wasn't very quick. And, so I just thought the hormonal model of insulin reduction made a lot of sense to me. It seemed to make a lot more sense than just this calorie balance equation, which seemed like the answers weren't fully there because we all know either personally or through friends that it's just not that simple. It's also impossible to really track your calories out, your metabolic rate, without maybe some expensive lab equipment. So you're kind of always guessing there. You're kind of always guessing at a calorie deficit. Um, and and that also works because if you eat less, you're going to be, putting less insulin into your body. Even if you're not changing your macro ratio, you're going to be eating less carbs overall. That's going to help drive down insulin. You're going to be a little more mindful of what you're eating. So it really explains everything, I think. And so I don't trust mainstream medical science when it comes to nutrition at all, really. And the more I learn about it, the less I trust it. So it just seems like there's a lot of flimsy science and a lot of financial interest there.
Going forward, this is it for you. There's no going back.
Yeah, I mean, I may possibly be a little less restrictive at some point and do something a little more relaxed, more keto. But I feel so much better this way. I can't really imagine going back to just a normal diet out of anything but laziness. So no, I intend to be carnivore, and I don't really have any reason to do anything else. If I was a little less restrictive here and there on occasion, probably wouldn't ruin my results. And if that made life more enjoyable, maybe. But I don't have a great desire to eat anything but meat, so it's really not all that difficult. There's temptation around us constantly, and um, I treat it more like an addiction. And I think you and I both have quit alcohol, and that's something that every carnivore should do, but I know not all do. But I like drinking a little too much, and realized that was just something I had to give up, and my life's a lot better for it. So I think about food the same way now. It's like yeah, maybe I'll never eat like everyone else, and that's okay because I know that if I slip up and I do cheat meals and stuff, that's gonna just make me feel bad, and it's gonna derail my progress and make it harder to come back to what I know does work. And so if you think about more like an addiction, it's like I don't want to relapse and go eat a pint of ice cream and mac and cheese or whatever. So that helps me stay true to it.
Right. And you bring up a question now that you've mentioned alcohol. So, as anyone that kind of consumes a lot of alcohol, you kind of run out of time to do other things because of, recovering from that alcohol and the consumption part and the recovery of it. Um, how has your available time increased since going carnivore, since giving up the alcohol and that kind of thing? Do you find you're more productive? Do you have more time available, and have you started doing new things?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think carnivore saves a lot of time. I I was kind of generally doing 2 meals a day either way anyways, just because I knew that was good and it fits into my work schedule. I don't have to worry about packing a lunch. It's one less thing to think about, and I'm pretty used to the kind of fasting life anyways. So that saves a lot of time, but carnivore also is easier to cook, less dishes to clean. Shopping is really quick. I go to the grocery store more frequently to look for meat that is on sale and cook it then. and but other than that, I don't have to go through the store. I don't have to read ingredients. I just buy meat, and that's it. So that's a lot more effective, and certainly since quitting alcohol and gave up marijuana, all that is just it is a big time sink, and I'm glad to not have it in my life. So I have more time to do work here on YouTube, to be functional at work at my real job, and just if I have extra free time, I can do. I've got unlimited projects. I feel like don't have any more free time, but I am more productive. That's for sure because I just keep myself busy.
So, if one of your friends came to you and said, "Look, Nick, I'm ready to start this. You're having good results. You've got more energy. You just seem happier about this. I want to get started." How would you recommend they go about it?
Yeah, well, I think, it was easy enough for me because I had done keto first, and so that's where I would recommend most people to start. Um, I think keto is difficult too because you spend a lot of time worrying about carbs, and so in some ways, carnivore is simpler. And if they're willing to just go straight into it, that's great. Or just wean off whatever carbs they do eat. Cut the processed food really kind of depends on where people are. If they're eating junk food and sodas all day, fast food all day, then there's a few things that probably need to happen gradually. But if they're eating fairly healthy, if they've done any kind of keto before, I think that's a good place to start. Just kind of cutting out the worst offenders, and then you go for more and more of the carbs. And if you're down to just fruit and vegetables and meat, that's pretty good. And then you just can cut that out and just go only meat, and won't make a big difference at that point, I think.
So, what would you say to people that claim carnivore is restrictive?
It is. It is restrictive, but you're restricting a lot of the things that are not gonna help you, and they're not gonna improve your life. So, um, I don't know if I don't feel like I need to go out and eat junk food. I don't feel like I'm constantly craving, junk food any more than, I'm not constantly craving alcohol anymore. Once I've given it up and I've seen how it improves my life, it's no longer something that I want. And I feel the same way about food that's not carnivore. It's just something I don't want. There's the occasional temptation where there's some really nice looking desserts or something that are handmade, and I'm guilty of being tempted like anyone else, but you just realize that it's not going to make you feel good. You're going to feel ashamed for letting yourself down. Might make you feel sick. For some people, that maybe have some serious conditions, it could really trigger some sort of flare up of autoimmune issues, and it should be that much easier for them to stay clear of it. But even for me, I just know it's not going to make me feel good, and at the very least, I'll be disappointed in myself. So um, I I love meat. I eat meat and eggs and cheese, and that's about all I want to eat. I don't restrict what kind of meats I eat. So if I'm somehow bored, I have not at this point gotten bored of beef or anything, but I can always mix it up with fish or chicken or pork, and um, but if I could only eat ribeyes all day, I'd be happy with that. I just can't afford that right now.
Nice. So can you talk about your channel, how people can find you, and what kind of videos you've got on there?
Yeah, so my main channel is just my name, Nick Leonard. It's a music production channel. I focus mainly on metal music. I do music production tutorials and gear reviews and stuff like that. And I did put my first carnivore video there of detailing my first 100 days. I've also put up some videos on going sober. And so those are all on my main channel because that's where my audience is. But I am starting a new channel, meat based. I put that my handle there. So that it doesn't have much on there yet. I have just one video. I shot another one this morning. Going to be putting out more content there, just talking about carnivore specifically and nutrition. So it's just starting out. It's not much yet, but I'm hoping to do interviews and just put out informative videos on why people should go carnivore because I feel like it's important and I want to help spread the word and throw my hat in that ring as well.
Nice. Well, I'll link to both of those below. Nick, thank you so much for coming on today and sharing your story. I really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's great to be here, and as a fan of your channel, it's nice to meet you and talk to you. So thanks for having me on.